What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for November 10th, 2023. I am Graham Giason Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend so far, and happy Veterans Day as well. We did not do a SmackDown audio review last week, but we're back this week with a great show, I thought, on Friday. Doing a great job of recapping Crown Jewel from last weekend, setting the stage for WarGames and Survivor Series coming up in a couple weeks as well. Honestly, one of the strongest SmackDowns all year, I thought. Just a top-to-bottom excellent show. Closing on a high note, opening with a high note. Let's waste no time here. Corey Graves was not on this show. Congrats to him and Carmella on the birth of their child, Dimitri, I think is their son's name. So Corey Graves was not on this show. Replacing him on commentary for the night, Kevin Owens, as put in place by Nick Aldis, the SmackDown general manager, which ended up culminating in something a little bit later on in the show. And we were told, too, that Kevin Owens, if he got physically involved with any of the superstars, even if he was, antagonized or whatever, he would be suspended. And that came into play a little bit later on. That would explain why he did not do anything during the opening segment to help out Rey Mysterio, which we'll get into. Because he's said many times before Rey Mysterio is like an idol to him. He's like a close friend. He's never had a one-on-one match with him, blah, blah, blah. Why would he not help out Rey? Well, we found out again in the opening segment that he would be suspended if he did. Though I guess helping out Rey wasn't enough, but getting water poured on him by Austin Theory and Grayson Waller was enough to break said suspension rule, because he ended up getting suspended when he attacked him. So anyway, the opening 30 minutes of the show, I thought, were just fantastic. I thought they did a tremendous job of recapping what we got at Crown Jewel with the United States Championship development, with Logan Paul winning the championship. But it wasn't just the fact that he won the title, and Rey Mysterio came out here saying, I want a rematch for the championship, blah, blah, blah. Logan Paul was not on the show, by the way. Roman Reigns was not on the show. Solo Sikoa was not on the show. And John Cena was also not on the show. So despite the lack of star power, this ended up being a great episode and focused clearly on what they're doing going forward and the superstars they have. But anyway, back to Rey Mysterio talking about the United States Championship. It wasn't the fact that he lost the title, it was how he lost the championship. And Carlito brought up the elephant in the room that we were all kind of wondering about throughout the week after Crown Jewel. Why did Santos Escobar leave the brass knuckles on the ring apron for Logan Paul's crony to use and give to Logan Paul to allow him to use and win the championship? That was the question we were all wondering. They posed that question here per Carlito, and it kind of led to a ooh type moment from the crowd when Carlito brought up and kind of blamed Escobar for that. Escobar wasn't happy. He walked off. And then during the subsequent match between Carlito and Lashley, which was fine, well wrestled, solid, it was good. The fact that they're still going at it like 15 years after, they're maybe not prime years because Lashley's had some great years in the ring recently. But like this is a match you could have booked in SmackDown versus Raw 2007. And they're still out there doing their thing. It's pretty cool. But anyway, they do their match. Lashley wins. Santos attempts to interfere, gets thwarted by the Profits. Carlito lost anyway. Escobar did not interfere in the post-match beatdown when the Profits and Lashley were beating down Carlito. Escobar did not attempt to help him. Rey wasn't happy about that. Rey comes out the chair, fends off Lashley and the Profits. Rey gets upset at Escobar for saying for basically being like, hey, if you're not going to get involved, you might as well get out of here. Why wouldn't you help out Carlito? We're all family. Escobar acting all, very emotional here, very pent up, a lot of pent up frustration from the last couple of months. Not only from losing the United States Championship opportunity, which does absolutely have to get brought up at some point, and not only failing to beat Rey for the championship soon after, but also the fact that, the brass knuckle thing, there's been a lot of moments in the last couple of weeks, months even, where Rey and Santos have teased tension on a subtle level. And I even said when Carlito came back, which was the logical move to make, that maybe Rey would start to favor Carlito more than Santos, and Santos could get jealous. I didn't think we would get the turn at this point, but I'm glad we are. I've been saying for a while now, I feel like the Mania match could be, maybe not necessarily which I would want to see, Rey and Santos one-on-one at Mania. It could end up being, because we could end up getting Santos and Rey before then, maybe at the Rumble, because they might have written off Rey here because Escobar snapped and turned on Rey, he attacked Carlito, and he shoved Rey into the steel steps. It wasn't like an all-out heel. He will be a heel going forward, and he got great heat for it. But it was one of those things where he felt like he probably had to do it, and it wasn't, he was kind of forced into doing it. He even told Zelina Vega that. Zelina Vega came out and said, why did you do this? This is all your fault. And Escobar said, it wasn't me, it was him. And Vega was like, no, it's pretty clearly your fault, blah, blah, blah. So Escobar felt like it was something he needed to do. But we'll probably get Escobar and Carlito as a feud in the meantime. I like that a lot. You can have the rest of LWO reform with Santos. And when I say the rest, not Carlito and Rey necessarily, but specifically Toro and Wilde. Doesn't really matter. They're basically just henchmen anyway. They constantly lose, so it doesn't even really matter. But you can put them back with Santos, ultimately. Maybe not as soon as next week, but soon. Vega can stay babyface. I feel like she's actually been better in the babyface role than she was as a heel. And she was a great heel, obviously. She was a great heel manager. But she's actually been more over as a babyface in the past year than she was as a heel previously. Maybe that was just due to the booking, but whatever. You can keep Vega with Rey and Carlito, and then maybe you can bring up Lopez, and she's not great, but maybe they can use her in a B-Fab managerial role in the main roster with the original Legado del Fantasma from NXT. They can call them the Legado del Fantasma faction. The LWO can be reserved for like Rey and Carlito if they just don't eventually move away from it completely. At Mania, you can do Rey against Santos and the rest of Legado. Toro, Wilde, Escobar versus Rey, Carlito, and their partner Bad Bunny. I feel like that'd be the perfect Mania match. Again, I would prefer Rey and Santos one-on-one, but if it's not going to involve the United States Championship, I just don't see it. The odds of that happening without a championship involved are very slim on a Mania card. Even with 2 nights, I would just see them prioritizing other superstars before they would prioritize Rey and Santos one-on-one. Although that would be a great program and a great match to do. I just feel like a 6-man tag team match involving Bad Bunny, they might feel is more worth their time and a bigger attraction for that event. And they might just do Santos and Rey before then, because we've already seen it twice on SmackDown in the last couple of months. But anyway, I thought everything about the opening segment was great. They excellently executed this thing with Escobar's heel turn, the sympathy for Rey, everything. Carlito's role in this whole thing. This was long overdue. The LWO has been doing good stuff. They're still over to a certain degree. But it feels like they've been in a placeholder pattern, kind of in a holding pattern for a while now. They really haven't done much of note for the last couple of months. So I enjoyed that. We finally got some development on that front, and now we wait to see where they go from here. Do we get a Carlito and Escobar feud in the meantime? Do they have a feud until Rey comes back from his storyline injury or whatever? I guess time will tell, but I thought that was great stuff. We had another segment after that with the kind of remnants or what we thought was Damage Control. Bayley was out there first, and Bayley was interrupted by her own group, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, even Kairi Sane coming out with them. And they showed the footage, which I thought was great, of Bayley attacking Kairi Sane. The last time we saw Kairi Sane on WWE television was 3.5 years ago almost on Raw, back in July of 2020. And they didn't show the match that was taking place in the ring. But the match in the ring was Asuka and Sasha Banks. And the whole stipulation is if Asuka got counted out or disqualified, she would lose the championship. She ended up losing by countout, and Sasha Banks became the then Raw Women's Champion. So Asuka went to her friend's aid, lost the championship, lost her best friend because she ended up leaving the company legitimately at that point, and Kairi Sane hadn't been seen since, at least until Crown Jewel. So I thought that whole thing was great, that they recapped that, brought that up. They acknowledged it, I think, on commentary at Crown Jewel, but you have to actually show the footage for anyone that was not familiar with that wasn't watching during the COVID days, and I wouldn't blame them if they weren't. But I thought that was really well done. But they all kind of hugged it out here and got on the same page. Bayley, Dakota, Io, and Kairi. Kind of Bayley hesitating to hug Kairi, I thought was great. It seems to me like we're headed for a Bayley babyface turn at some point. I'm just not sure how soon and at what point we might be getting that, but it looks like the direction they're going. And I thought Io would be the babyface, but if they're giving Io her own faction, whether it be Damage Control or something else, that's completely fine by me. So I thought that was cool. Bianca interrupted. She obviously got screwed out of the championship at Crown Jewel. Charlotte Flair comes out. Asuka, we have not seen in several weeks, probably not since the Fastlane pay-per-view in early October, also emerged, returning for the first time in over a month, to confront Damage Control, setting up the night's 6-woman tag team main event. I was surprised they were giving it away this quickly, because I'm thinking, that's a match you can do for next week. You could even do that at Survivor Series. And I had seen the rumors from earlier in the day, and I had seen, I speculated myself, that if they want to do a women's WarGames match, which kind of feels forced with the people involved, and there is a history with these women, specifically these 6, Bianca, Charlotte, and Asuka all having an issue with Damage Control, and to an extent Kairi Sane now, I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense, but this makes more sense as a 6-woman tag team match, not a 5-on-5 or even a 4-on-4 with who we have currently involved. And then, we get this match, and I'm thinking, I don't want fucking Chelsea Green out there and Piper Niven. Just throwing them in there would be completely pointless. I don't know if Meltzer was reporting that they would be involved or just speculating. Hopefully just speculating. Because Niven and Green, although I like them as a team, I like them individually as well. Them being in a women's WarGames match with these women who they have not interacted with in months. I know they lost, Chelsea Green and Piper did in a tag match to Charlotte and Shotzi a few weeks ago. But again, who gives a shit? That's not WarGames worthy. But it doesn't look like we're actually headed in that direction, and I'll get to that at the end. So that was a great segment, I thought. We had Dragon Lee and Cedric Alexander running it back from a few weeks ago in a really, really fun match here. A bit better than the first encounter. Very fun, quick-paced. Crowd was into it. They gave Dragon Lee another video package beforehand. They're doing everything right so far with Dragon Lee. They're showcasing him properly, and he's getting over, it seems. Really fun stuff here, and if nothing else, it also gets Cedric Alexander on the show. I'm surprised he survived the latest round of cuts, the releases. I'm surprised he wasn't cut a few years ago, even 2 or 3 years ago, but he's still here, and he's great, so I'm glad he wasn't. But Cedric's awesome. He went out there and shone. They had a really fun match. Dragon Lee goes over as he should have. They shake hands. Great stuff. We had LA Knight in action after that against Grayson Waller, but before that, they kind of went head-to-head on the mic. Grayson Waller first, interrupted LA Knight, but even before that, Knight was addressing his loss of Crown Jewel, which I wasn't really sure if they would do, because Knight, the only reason why he lost that match in storyline was because Jimmy Uso got involved and cost him the championship. It would only make sense for Knight to then blame Jimmy Uso for that loss and go back after Jimmy Uso, which is exactly what he did in his promo. Knight's greatest strength, for as over as he is and as good as he is in the ring, and he's not like Bret Hart in there, but he's good enough, he's competent enough. His real strength is on the mic and connecting with the crowd in that way. But they gave him mic time here as I thought they should have, and they didn't. I didn't think they would. So I thought that was great. And he addressed the loss, and again, addressed Jimmy Uso, challenging him to a match. We're getting that next week, interestingly enough, and they're now waiting on that. We've already seen it twice. Knight's already beat him by pinfall, so it's really nothing new. I'm kind of curious what more they can do with Knight to kill time before WrestleMania, before the Royal Rumble. I don't know if it's a Jimmy Uso feud necessarily, but it's an option. Maybe LA Knight and Solo Sikoa, but again, the problem is that we've already seen Knight beat Sikoa straight up in a singles match a month ago. So why would anyone think that's like a fresh match, or what does Knight have to accomplish from beating him again, is my question. But I thought the mic work was great. I enjoyed his back and forth on the mic with Grayson Waller, kind of rekindling their rivalry from NXT from a few years ago, from early last year. They didn't bring that up here. But they worked well together, had a very good match on this show, Knight winning, and Kevin Owens sitting on commentary, making fun of Waller in theory for attacking them both. Backstage, a couple of weeks ago, punching them simultaneously, which actually ended up leading to Kevin Owens getting water poured on him, as I mentioned earlier, by Waller in Theory following this match. Coming out of commercial break, Theory and Waller upset at how Kevin Owens was making fun of them on commentary. They come out, pour water on him. Owens ain't taking this shit. He gets out of the desk, takes off the headset, and goes after Waller in Theory and attacks him. So, in effect, he gets suspended. I'm not sure for how long. They didn't say, so we'll see. Without further that feud, I thought that was well done. Good stuff all around here. And then, just like that, we got to the main event. The show was over as quickly as it started. I thought the structure of the show was strong. But it was Bianca, Charlotte, and Asuka, as I mentioned, against Damage Control's Io Sky and Bayley and Kairi Sane. I don't know if Kairi Sane's officially a member of Damage Control or Asuka. So Asuka, right at the end of the match, gets tagged in and then goes after Charlotte and Bianca. She turns on them. And then we come to find out that she embraces Kairi, because that's the real connection there. And I was trying to remember, did Asuka do anything that Kairi wouldn't have liked from their last run for why Kairi would want to turn on Asuka? Because I'm thinking, did Asuka not come to Kairi's aid? But she did on that show 3.5 years ago. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for them to feud. And I said on hashtag on Wednesday, I don't like the idea of Asuka joining Damage Control just because she's been feuding with them for so long. It's kind of dumb for her to just join them. I know the whole, expression, if you can't beat them, join them type thing. I get it. But she was feuding with Damage Control up until recently. It just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. My bigger issue is I don't think she should be the leader. If she's not the leader, then fine. If the focus is on Io and Kairi and Asuka's kind of like the third wheel, or just an ally for this women's WarGames match, that's completely fine. But she attacks them. The match effectively ends in a no contest. And she lays out Bianca and Charlotte to close out the show, as well as Shotzi. Shotzi came out to kind of make the save. She also gets laid out. And Damage Control, Kairi Sane, Asuka, all standing tall to close the show. I thought this was great stuff. I was not expecting that. I did see a tweet after the fact from WrestleVote saying that, we don't know the fourth member of the babyface team, but the women's WarGames match on paper looks like Damage Control and Kairi Sane and Asuka against Bianca, Charlotte, Shotzi, and a partner. So, and they tweeted that at like fucking 8:50. So if I had seen that before the main event, that would have given it away. I didn't see that tweet, so it came actually as a surprise to me while watching it. And I thought the execution of that angle was actually really well done. It exceeded my expectations. So now I think a women's WarGames match would make sense. The more that I think about it now with this layout, this would make sense. Asuka's rejoining her old friends, not necessarily Bayley. Bayley's kind of like the weak link in this whole thing. It's more about Io, Kairi, and Asuka having a connection, and not so much Bayley. Kairi's like the glue that brings Io and Asuka together. So I like that. Bayley's on the outs, but she's still on the team for now. Dakota Kai's not cleared, but they have the 5-on-3 advantage. The babyface team needs another partner. Now, who would that person be? The first name that came to mind was Jade Cargill. That would be a great stage for her to debut at a Survivor Series. We've seen a lot of Survivor Series debuts over the year. The Rock, Taker, The Shield, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker. The list goes on and on. She wouldn't necessarily be debuting on that show. We've already seen her in, doing other stuff on WWE television, but she would have her first match on that show, and that alone would be a big deal. Sting also debuted at Survivor Series in WWE back in 2014, so that would be a nice moment. But I don't know if I want her as a babyface, and I'm not really sure I want her on SmackDown. I thought she would be a better fit for Raw. Raw kind of needs those bigger stars right now, and so I would rather see Jade on Raw personally. The other person that I wasn't thinking of, just because I don't really think it's possible, although I don't think she's contractually obligated or under contract to any one company right now, is Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks. I don't think she comes back to WWE this quickly, but that would be an amazing story to tell, where Bayley's best friend and the only person she can really trust, although they had a falling out in storyline a few years ago, what brings them back together is Damage Control, kind of kicking Bayley out. So Sasha Banks comes to Bayley's aid. I love that a lot. And then the ultimate attraction can be Bayley and Sasha versus Io and Kairi, or Io and Asuka, and whatever it might be. I think that'd be awesome. And it wouldn't have to be immediate, but one way to kick it off would be to bring back Sasha on the babyface team at Survivor Series, and then Sasha in the weeks that follow is trying to talk common sense into Bayley. I would like that a lot. I don't think we're getting that, though. I do think Bayley is, probably going to take the losing fall for her team, and maybe they win. I'm not sure. I don't think Sasha's coming back to the company that quickly, but it is an intriguing idea, and I feel like it makes more storyline sense than Jade Cargill. I know Michin's on SmackDown. She hasn't been around in a while. I just feel like that'd be random. She's not really a major adversary of Damage Control, so no thanks. Zelina Vega, same thing. She's had matches with Bayley, but she's not really had a lot of issues with Damage Control specifically, so that to me just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I guess she did over the summer, but not lately. I just feel like that'd be forced. I had seen earlier today, PW Insider was reporting, maybe Becky Lynch. Maybe not maybe. I think they were outright saying it would be Becky Lynch. Also just doesn't make any sense. That to me would just feel like a rehash of last year. Becky Lynch also came back for WarGames last year, and she's on Raw right now. She's not returning from anything. But she's a Raw superstar. There's no real reason to kind of... The brand split stuff is already muddied as it is. But there's nothing for her to gain from going to SmackDown and joining up with them to defeat Damage Control again. She's not really a rival of them right now. She hasn't been in over 6 months. I just feel like that would be going back to something that we've already seen. Becky already won WarGames for the women a year ago by beating Damage Control. What would really be accomplished from doing it again? And she also had Bianca on her team last year. So I'm not really in favor of that. I would much rather it just be Jade or Sasha. I doubt it's Sasha, but I feel like, honestly, I would rather see Michin or Zelina Vega in that role, because at least they've had more issues with Damage Control recently. Not big issues, but more recently than Becky Lynch after she kind of squashed that beef at WrestleMania. So I hope it's not Becky Lynch. I just feel like she should be better off on Raw, doing her own thing with Xia Li and maybe Nia Jax, and she just finished up the NXT stuff. Becky Lynch being in Survivor Series in that role would be not completely random, but just unnecessary. And I thought the overall show on Friday was excellent. A very, very, very good addition to SmackDown. If this is a taste of what we can expect going forward, not every episode is going to be as eventful as this one. But if we can kind of get more storyline consistency and stuff like this going forward, SmackDown might be in good hands heading into the final stretch of the year, even without John Cena there, and Roman Reigns, and Logan Paul, who really should be around more often. I know he said in an interview earlier on the day on Friday that he plans to retire from boxing and become a full-time WWE star. He wasn't even on SmackDown in his first show as United States champion, so I'm not too sure that's even the case. Well, he should have at least been on this show. There really wasn't a role for him, but still, They didn't advertise him for next week, so I don't think he's coming back anytime soon, which is kind of fucking dumb, but it's very dumb, actually. But I enjoyed the show nonetheless. We'll see where they're going next week. We have LA Knight and Jimmy Uso on the docket for next week's SmackDown, in addition to the return of Solo Sikoa following his decisive defeat of John Cena at Crown Jewel. So we'll be back next week. Another review of SmackDown coming up next Saturday. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.